I'd like to welcome everyone to our electronic council meeting on January the 20th, 2021. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, Regional Council is practicing physical distancing, and we're participating electronically. In an attempt to speed things up, we have assigned a mover and a seconder, and I will read these out, and then I will state the result of the vote. I would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather virtually today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements, and their contributions to our community. I would ask the clerk to now do the roll call. Chris, are you doing that?
Yes, I am. At the request of Jeff Lawrence, we're going to split the list, and we're going to start with Councillor Jowett.
Fun. I'm here.
Councillor Kiefer.
Here.
Councillor Lawrence.
I'm here.
Councillor Perry.
Present.
Councillor Nowak.
I'm here.
Councillor Shantz.
Here.
Councillor Strickland.
Here.
Councillor Bravanovich.
Here.
Chair Redman.
Here.
Councillor Armstrong.
Here.
Councillor Clark.
Here.
Councillor Erb.
Here.
Councillor Foxton.
Here.
Councillor Galloway.
Here.
Councillor Harris. I saw him.
Here. Here.
Councillor Yaworski.
Here.
All in attendance.
Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. We will now entertain a motion to convene in open session. This is moved by Councillor Lawrence and seconded by Councillor Harris. I would ask everyone to use their voting icon to vote yes or no.
That's carried.
Thank you very much, Stevie. So we are now in open session. I would ask if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Seeing none, there are no presentations, no petitions, no delegations. Minutes of the previous meetings. We'll now have a motion to approve minutes of the previous meetings as listed. This is moved by Councillor McGarry and seconded by Councillor Nowak. And these include items A through N. So I'd ask you to please use your icons to vote.
And that's carried.
Thank you very much. That is carried, colleagues. Communications, you should have all received electronically your information package. Is there any questions on any of the information that Council received electronically? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to go into the Committee of the Whole. This is moved by Councillor Shantz and seconded by Councillor Strickland. Please use your yes and no icons to vote.
That's carried.
Thank you. The Council is now in Committee of the Whole to consider reports. We will have one motion to accept all of the finance reports. If there's anyone that anyone would like to comment on, please raise your hand now. Councillor Jaworski, go ahead.
Just a shout out to staff on Finance Report D, which is the refurbishment of the dozer for the waste management site. I think it's you can see in the report save $600,000. I'm sure with the equipment at end of life, the easy thing would be to simply buy a new one, but very innovative to refurbish it to almost brand new for about half the price. So congratulations and thank you, staff.
Thank you very much. Great shout out to staff. The rest of the finance reports are moved by Councillor Bravanovich and seconded by Councillor Armstrong. I see no other speakers, so I would ask you to please use your icons to vote on that group of motions.
That's carried unanimously.
Thank you, Stevie. We are now on to Committee of Reports, Committee of the Whole. We'll now have a vote to approve the summary of the Committee of the Whole of January 12th, 2021. This is moved by Councillor Strickland and seconded by Councillor Bravanovich. And you can see the items listed there. Again, if anybody has any questions, I see none, so could you use your icons to vote yes and no?
That's carried.
Thank you very much, colleagues. That is carried. We will now vote to approve the closed summary for the Committee of the Whole, January the 12th, 2021. This is moved by Councillor Strickland and seconded by Councillor Bravanovich. And those recommendations are as listed, 1 through 3. Some of them are appointments to the GRAC.
That's carried.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Next is licensing and hearings. You should have received this electronically. We had a meeting earlier this week. I don't know if Chair Lawrence, you want to speak to any of the issues?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I think that it's pretty evident. Yeah, we have set aside money for accessible vehicles, and that's basically what item 1 deals with. Item 2 is a taxi increase, a fare increase. They haven't had one in 9 years, so it's pretty standard. And I don't know if you need me to move it, but I certainly would be happy to do that.
Okay, so this is moved by Councillor Rentz and seconded by Councillor Erb. We have the report before us. If there are no questions, I would ask you to use your icons to vote in favor of or against.
That's carried.
Thank you very much, Stevie. That is carried. The next item is the budget. This is a result of a budget meeting that we had earlier today, very ably chaired by Councillor Strickland. I want to thank him for his leadership and his guidance. The recommendations are before us, and there are several. So this afternoon, Council unanimously supported the 2021 budget. We're proud of this budget because it supports a new historic investments in affordable housing, in our Indigenous, Black, and people of color communities, new supports for businesses, as well as investments in public health as we lead this community through COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. Very proud of this budget. It is moved by Councillor Strickland and seconded by Councillor Jowett. Councillor Strickland, do you want to make any comments at this point in time?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just briefly reiterating what I said this afternoon, and my thanks to colleagues and staff. When I was naming staff, sometimes you forget to name a certain group, and I was remiss in not thanking clerks for all the work that they've done through this budget process as well. So, in addition to the other staff that I noticed this afternoon, and also just like to say that this is a budget that's very reflective of what we heard from the community. I know that it will not be perfect for everyone. I know some will say that we haven't gone far enough, but I do think that we've made some tremendous strides forward in terms of having a focused budget, focused on the needs of our community, and also working with the police services budget and sending some strong messages to police services, which I'm sure will be well received, reshape not only our budget, but work with our police services to put into place a program and policing services that are more reflective of our needs. So I'm really thankful to my colleagues on council for their support to this budget. I was really pleased to see the additional resolutions here today reflecting our commitment to changing our approach on how we do business at the region. I'm pleased to move this budget with a 0% tax increase on local programs, on regional programs, and 0.5% for police, which we'll be dealing with in a minute. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So we're dealing with 1 through 6 items, and that encapsulates a lot of the amendments that were brought forward by council. Councillor Clark, did you want to make comment?
I wanted to ask that we take 7A separately, but it sounds like we may be doing that regardless.
Yes, so we will do that. So all of the motions up until 7, which is the police budget. So basically, we're voting on the amended main motion for the budget for the region of Waterloo for the year 2021. Councillor Lawrence, did you want to make a comment?
I just would like to ask for a recorded vote on the budget, please, Madam Chair. Both pieces.
Thank you. Okay, so it has been moved by Councillor, got to roll back here, Strickland, and seconded by Councillor, shoot, who seconded that?
Howard.
Thank you, Councillor Jowett. Clerks, would you like to do a roll call?
I can do the roll call. Chair Redman,
In favor.
Councillor Armstrong,
In favor.
Councillor Clark,
Favor?
Councillor Erb,
In favor.
Councillor Foxton,
In favor.
Councillor Galloway,
In favor.
Councillor Harris,
In favor.
Councillor Yaworski,
In favor.
Councillor Jowett,
In favor.
Councillor Kiefer,
In favor.
Councillor Lawrence,
In favor.
Councillor McGarry,
In favor.
Councillor Nowak,
In favor.
Councillor Shantz,
In favor.
Councillor Strickland,
In favor.
Councillor Vavanovich.
Support.
That's carried unanimously.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Now with the same mover and seconder, so Councillor Strickland and Councillor Jowett will deal with, I believe it's number 7. Stevie, if you can put that back up, and that's the police budget. I see no speakers, so I would ask, I have not heard for a recorded vote, so I would ask that,
Madam Chair, I'd ask for a recorded vote for, I thought
Oh,
we were
for both?
dealing- I thought we were
Okay.
dealing with 6 and then 7, so yes.
okay, all right. So there's been a request for a recorded vote. This is on number 7, A and B, or Councillor Clark, did you want one of those separated out?
Separate them out, please.
Okay, so we will vote on 7A to begin with, a recorded vote. I will turn it over to Mrs. Fletcher.
Chair Redman,
In favor.
Councillor Armstrong,
In favor.
Councillor Clark,
Opposed?
Councillor Erb,
In favor.
Councillor Foxton,
In favor.
Councillor Galloway,
In favor.
Councillor Harris,
In favor.
Councillor Yaworski,
In favor.
Councillor Jowett,
In favor.
Councillor Kiefer,
In favor.
Councillor Lawrence,
In favor.
Councillor McGarry,
In favor.
Councillor Nowak,
In favor.
Councillor Shantz,
Favor.
Councillor Strickland,
In favor.
Councillor Vavanovich.
In favor.
That's 15 in favor, 1 opposed.
Thank you. We will now move again with the same seconder and mover to 7B, recorded vote. Mrs. Fletcher, back over to you.
Okay. Starting with the V's, Councillor Vavanovich,
In favor.
Councillor Strickland,
In favor.
Councillor Shantz,
Favor.
Councillor Nowak,
In favor.
Councillor McGarry,
In favor.
Councillor Lawrence,
In favor.
Councillor Kiefer,
In favor.
Councillor Jowett,
In favor.
Councillor Yaworski,
In favor.
Councillor Harris,
In favor.
Councillor Galloway,
In favor.
Councillor Foxton,
In favor.
Councillor Erb,
In favor.
Councillor Clark,
In favor?
Councillor Strong,
In favor.
Chair Redman.
In favor.
That's 16 in favor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. A lot of hard work, and if I could just add my thanks to Chair Strickland, I would have to say I think staff have done an outstanding job, and that our CAO, Bruce Lochner, has done an exemplary job of providing leadership and guidance to staff. Everybody stepped up. I'm very proud of this council, and I'm very proud of this staff. Coming out of closed, we have approval for a summary. This is moved by Councillor Clark and seconded by Councillor Lorentz, and that's that the Regional Municipality of Waterloo approve a settlement with a numbered company in relation to expropriation of 296 Fairway Road, South Kitchener, whereby the region pays the numbered company the sum of $675,000, inclusive of advance of $200,000 already made for all compensation pursuant to the Expropriations Act, plus reasonable costs as determined by the regional solicitor. I see no speakers, so I'd ask you to use your icons to vote in favor or against this motion.
That's carried.
Thank you very much. Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Lochner, do you have any comments to make at this juncture?
Just echoing your comments, Chair Redman, a huge thank you to Council for all their work and wisdom and leadership over the last many months, and to the team, many hours, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours go into a plan and budget from staff at all levels of the organization. So huge thanks to the staff, great team effort.
Thank you. The next agenda item is actually the regional clerk, and this is amendment to the region's procedural bylaw in response to the current COVID pandemic. Chris, do you want to speak to this, or should I move it and put it on the floor first?
I can speak briefly to it, Madam Chair. Just that this will allow us to continue to meet virtually, completely virtually, for as long as there's an emergency declared by the municipality. I would like to draw councillors' attention, though, to the fact that we will be undertaking a larger procedural bylaw amendment and trying to put together some changes with respect to the overall bylaw. That will be introduced at the February council meeting, of which this will also be a topic of conversation. And so as we move forward and out of the pandemic, we need to start turning our minds to and what situations we would consider completely remote chairing of meetings and how that might occur. So I would just like to draw your attention to that so you can start thinking about what you might see. As an example of that, if we go back to hybrid meetings at any point in time, that becomes a much larger technical challenge. So I don't think we want to have the chair absent from the chambers when we're trying to do hybrid meetings, as an example. So if you can start thinking about those things, about when the chair does need to be here or when the chair doesn't need to be here, I'd be happy to hear from you on that particular issue.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Fletcher. So this is moved by Councillor Foxton and seconded by Councillor Harris. And it is that in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the declared provincial emergency effective January 14th, 2021, the Region of Waterloo waived the notice of policy requirement of 21 days and approved the proposed amendment to the procedure bylaw hashtag 00-031 at a special council meeting to be held on January 20th, 2021 as follows. And the amendment is that the chair of the meeting may chair the meeting remotely, electronically, in a declared municipal emergency under the Emergency Municipal and Civil Protection Act that restricts the ability to meet in person in the opinion of such chair. So it's been moved and seconded. I see no speakers, so I would ask you to use your voting icons to either vote for or against this change in our procedural bylaw.
That's carried.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, just one last thing. As we end tonight's council meeting, we will follow up with an immediate special council meeting in which we need to pass the bylaw amendment.
So stay where you are, right?
Yes, just once this meeting is over, we just stay exactly where we are and we move to the special council meeting. Thank you. Thank you,
Mrs. Fletcher. Other matters under the committee of the whole, a motion for the committee of the whole to rise and council to resume. This is moved by Councillor Jaworski and seconded by Councillor McGarry. that the committee of the whole rise and council resume. I would ask you to use your voting icons.
Carried.
Thank you very much. We'll now start a vote to adopt the proceedings of the committee of the whole. This is moved by Councillor Harris and seconded by Councillor Jaworski, that council adopt the proceedings of the committee of the whole. Again, please use your icons to vote yes or no.
And that's carried.
Thank you. We have no motions, no notices of motions, any unfinished business. Under other business, we have a presentation by Deputy Chief Hilton regarding the vaccine rollout. So I would like to welcome Deputy Chief Hilton, thank her for all the service that she's doing for our community, and ask her if she would like to provide an update.
Good evening, and thank you, Chair Redman and members of council. It's been a bit of a long haul already with the mass immunization rollout to date, and now I'm able to at least share what our roadmap looks moving forward. The province has established a placemat or a roadmap in terms of what the provincial rollout looks like, and public health and team have put together the similar roadmap on a regional scale. It's unfortunate that we have seen a short, hopefully, disruption in Pfizer's supply so that they can, what we understand, so that they can at least do a mass production. We know that next week we will not be receiving our supply that was allocated to us initially. This has been a changing plan for a couple of days now. We did receive our allocation this week. As you know, we did shut down the Grand River Clinic Friday of last week. We were anticipating opening Tuesday of this week. However, with the recent news of the further Pfizer delay, we have closed the Grand River Clinic until the 24th of January. Our intent is hopefully that on the 24th, we are able to resume. Again, I've said this past in other forums that our decisions are based on the information we have in the moment. And what we've learned is the information changes so rapidly. In order for us to actually develop a plan, our huge hurdle right now is supply. Also, one of the moving variables for us as it relates to the mass immunization plan is the amount of vaccine that's allocated. So not only whether we get a supply, but the amount that we are allocated. As I said, we are working with only Pfizer vaccine right now. We were scheduled to receive Moderna. However, that was last week, I believe it was diverted from those that were to receive them to other public health units that were in the gray zone to assist with those that were in a higher transmission. So those allocations that were coming to our region went to other regions that were in were high transmission. So the team was prepared for mobile teams, which started last week into the retirement homes. They were preparing for the Moderna vaccine, and fortunately they were prepared for that. With the unfortunate news we weren't getting Moderna, they were prepared for the good news that Pfizer was now mobile. So they were still able to enact the mobile teams to get into the long-term care homes and the high-risk retirement homes. So in addition, last week we had our fixed site at Grand River Hospital running clinic, and then we had the mobile teams running clinics within the long-term care homes and the retirement homes. That plan was working well. And what I have to say is when we talk about supply, scheduling was always on top of being in the moment scheduling for what we had currently in supply. What I would like to do is and let's see if I can be successful here in sharing my screen, is show you the roadmap of the provincial roadmap or placemat map and then show you the local place map that is guiding the strategy. So bear with me. You'll get everything but. Is everybody able to see that?
No, not yet.
All right. I knew this would happen.
I'm going to try to find my copy. Shirley?
If you could, that, sorry.
No, yeah.
It's on my screen.
Councillor Urbanovic is really good at this stuff.
I was going to say the other possibility is if you email it to the clerks, maybe they could share. Stevie?
I am Councillor Armstrong, but you just need the original first.
There. Thank you very much. So this is the placemat in which the province has outlined what the provincial data is in the distribution plan. As you see, what phase 1 looks like is our high-risk population, which we are doing currently right now. Also looking at, as we move down to congregate living, the healthcare, on-site clinics, etc. Phase 2, I think one of the caveats that I have to say about this particular plan is there's no hard stop or start in the phases. I think the biggest piece is being prepared for when we do get vaccine, to be prepared for the mass immunization plan. One of the things that the Waterloo region team has looked at is what we see other areas doing, which is the mass site pilot. The task force looked at this, and for a Waterloo region approach, didn't seem to be the most appropriate approach. We are looking at 3 fixed sites for our mass immunization rollout. We already have Grand River Hospital that is running very smoothly and will assist us in terms of getting the other sites up and running and what is required there. And then we're also looking at continuing with our mobile, in addition to looking at what's current infrastructure. Can I move to the Waterloo region, because it's going to be more applicable for the conversation, if you have one.
It's the next slide.
Yeah, it came in a 2-slide package.
Trying to find it, sorry.
No worries.
I'm able to project it. I'll do that now.
Thanks, Dr. Wong. So again, this placemat does mirror the provincial place map. What you'll see is the numbers that we have, public health has determined in terms of our phases and the groups within the phases. These numbers here are obviously going to change because of the expected doses. Vicki Murray from Grand River Hospital, St. Mary's Hospital, who has been instrumental in terms of our Grand River Clinic, has been doing the forecast based on our anticipation of Pfizer and Moderna, some of the modeling based on what we have been receiving. Again, the moving target is always the amount of vaccine we may get, and whether or not other vaccines will be approved during this process, and whether we have that allocation. So the model in which Waterloo Region is adopting is not one mass site, but it's the hopefully three fixed sites for the time being, and then also relying on our mobile teams, but also in addition to the infrastructure that currently exists through our Ontario health teams, through primary care and pharmacies. There's already great infrastructure that exists within Waterloo Region, and to be able to work in partnership to start hitting some of our target groups. We are looking at potentially, and also moving into, the existing flu vaccine model as well. Eventually, we'll be moving into that model. So looking at what the vaccine sequencing group and clinical strategy working group will look at, for instance, here's the prioritization from the province. What is the sequencing within that prioritization in Waterloo Region? And what is the best model to deliver the vaccine to that particular group? So when I start to look at, when we start looking at further into this area, mimicking what already exists in the delivery of the flu vaccine currently. So it is definitely more than one clinic, but it is a wraparound clinical approach to fixed sites, mobile teams, primary health care, pharmacy, also looking at the current CHCs, LANGs, working center, etc., to be able to deliver and administer the amount of vaccines that we're anticipating. Some of the things that General Hillier did say was that their anticipation that this particular slowdown or short disruption in supply will be short-lived. However, they believe that they would be making up those lost doses to the public health units in March. So we do have to be prepared to meet what we're missing in this area in March. He also is publicly saying that although currently with the Grand River Clinic, we've hit targets of 650 doses a day. His target is 10,000 in a given day. So this is why it's so very important that we have all of those partners and other existing infrastructures working in tandem to ensure that we hit the populations that we need to hit with the best possible method to get the vaccines administered. Dr. Wong or Mr. Lochner or Chair Redman, I'm not sure if there's anything that you would like to add as it relates to the actual task force, or if I may have missed anything.
I guess the only thing I would add from my perspective, Shirley, is that you're doing an amazing job, and I know you're the first one to always talk about what a team it is. But there are people that do nothing but logistics and all day, every day, and are constantly pivoting because it's a very fluid context within which they're trying to work this. I don't know, Dr. Wong or Bruce, do you have anything to add before we open it up? There's some questions.
No, I think Shirley covered it really well. Thanks, Shirley.
Yeah, I would just emphasize that we asked for help from a logistics perspective and security perspective and so on. There's been lots of questions about this, why are police doing healthcare or this or that? And as Deputy Hilton has outlined, this is a community effort. We have hospitals involved, we have primary care involved, home care is involved, and so on. And this is again at the logistics phase, but in terms of the details, so many individuals will be involved in this from a health system perspective. And that's the beauty of this community, that we have what many other communities don't have. We know a lot of communities across the province are calling and saying, hey, we thought this was only going to be run by hospitals, or we thought this was all going to be taken care of by public health. And it can't be. It's got to be the entire of the health system, as well as other organizations like pharmacies and so on. So a Herculean effort, especially given we're still waiting for supply. So thank you, Deputy Hilton.
So Councillor Jaworski, you had your hand up and then you took it down. Do you have a question or you decided you didn't?
I think I saw on the slide that juvenile populations will be inoculated in the summer so that they're okay by the time school rolls around. So maybe I should just confirm that that's what I saw in the fine print there.
Is Dr. Wong, is that a question for you?
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at the diagram. What I see here is adults 16 to 60.
Yeah, I saw juveniles in there right above the July marker, I think.
Juvenile. We actually don't have juvenile here.
Okay, so my question stands is we hope to inoculate all students before so they can go safely back to school in September. Is I guess my question.
Yeah, right now, vaccines that are that have been approved are actually have not actually been approved for children, but the trials are ongoing, and obviously the hope is that we'll be able to immunize children in the future.
That's good clarification. Councillor Shantz?
Thank you, and thank you, Deputy Hilton, for looking after the organization. When you put a nice diagram like that, it looks so very simple, but I know there will be lots of complications, and if it rolls out smoothly, it just means that there's been a lot of work in the background. My comment is regarding the senior population, and just to request or make sure that sites are available in the rural areas and I don't just mean in the countryside, but like in Elmira and some of those places, especially the seniors often don't want to travel into the city for that. So hopefully those sites will be available in the townships.
Thank you, and I appreciate you bringing up the certainly the senior population, because that is one of the considerations for us as well, not only on seniors but people who have difficulties moving about the region as well, and that is what a mass site consideration, why we didn't consider one mass site, so that we could have other sites that might be more or at least easier for people to get to, and then obviously with the infrastructure and getting people there, etc. So absolutely appreciate you bringing that forward, because that is one of our considerations. We are a region that is not just urban. We have a very large rural population as well that we've taken into consideration. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Councillor Foxton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So to Dr. Wong first, so getting back to Councillor Jovanovic's question. So we're doing 16 and up, age 16 and up, is that correct?
Yeah, at this time, that's what the vaccine is approved for. The vaccines that have been approved can do. One is 16, the other is 18, but
thank you. And Deputy Chief Hilton, so you need 2 shots of Pfizer. Have the groups that started the first Pfizer shot got their second shot, or are we still going straight across with single shots and catch up with seconds? How are you handling that?
So last week we did start, the Grand River Clinic did start with its second dose. Unfortunately, I do believe we only got a single day in before the decision to suspend further. Right now, the goal and the rollout is to continue with our long-term care homes and our retirement homes. And I believe we are on track to complete that as planned. We do know that the Pfizer vaccine, it's supposed to be a 21-day between first dose and second dose, although Pfizer has come out and said that there could be a 42-day window But I'll let Dr. Wong talk about where we are in terms of second dose, but that's at least where we were last time we were discussing our clinics.
Yes, no, you're right. So for Pfizer, it's 21 to 28 days, and for Moderna, it's 28 days. But recently, National Advisory Committee on Immunization, which is our expert committee on immunization in Canada, they've looked at the results from the studies, and they've said that the second dose for Pfizer can be delayed up to 42 days. What's happening right now is that Ontario is making sure that anyone who has received their first dose will receive their second dose within the recommended timelines. So it's a strategy of ensuring anyone that's had a first dose will get their second dose and complete their series. And that any new additional doses that would start a series in somebody are now being prioritized for only the very highest risk, such as the long-term care and high-risk retirement home residents. So that's what the impact of the reductions has had. It has just, well, not just, but the impact is it has reduced the amount of new first doses that can be found.
So the chart you put up tonight, that's actually existing for now, or is that set back because of our shortages?
That's set back. The amounts then there were done over the weekend. It's all gone now. We know there's no shipment next week. We are still awaiting details about what will happen to the amounts that we were supposed to get the week after and the week after. So we're still awaiting that information, the provinces as well. So once we have that information, we'll be able to update the dose amounts that we anticipate to receive, but they will be significantly cut over the next month. And what was anticipated is after that, Pfizer will be able to sort of catch up what it wasn't able to give us over the next 4 weeks, and then give it to us towards March.
So any hopes on the made in Canada vaccines? Or when we're going to see them roll out?
Any vaccine manufacturer that's ready to have their vaccine studies assessed by Health Canada has put in, those studies for review, and Health Canada is expeditiously reviewing them, and will approve as soon as they feel confident of the safety and efficacy of the vaccines that have been submitted for their review. Right now, I don't have any more information on other vaccines besides, the two that have been approved to date.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. I have Councillor Kiefer. We've sort of morphed in from the vaccine rollout update from Deputy Hilton. We will hear from Dr. Wong about the COVID update. So Carl, I will give you the floor. Do you want to talk about the vaccine rollout, or would you rather Dr. Wong give her update and I'll come back to you? It's your choice.
Well, no, Madam Chair, I have a quick question. It relates to, and I think we've covered it already, the vaccine location. If I heard correctly, the vaccine locations are determined. They're the hospitals, Cambridge Memorial and Grand River and what's the third one? Whatever the third one. Is that correct? And then we have the mobile one, of course.
No.
I'll let Deputy Hilton clarify.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, we do have the fixed location already, the clinic running at Grand River Hospital.
Right.
And it's obviously pre-established because that is where the vaccine is being stored and has been delivered. We are acquiring 2 other sites in the region, and right now I really don't want to say what they are until we actually sign on the dotted line on 2 of those locations, but one will be in the north and then one will be closer to the south end of the region, which will assist with running simultaneous clinics, fixed clinics.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Deputy Hilton. I think it's important that the vaccine locations are geographically, strategically located, and I know they will be. Thank you.
Councillor Jowett, did you have a question about the vaccine rollout specifically?
No, sorry, I'm waiting for Dr. Wong.
Okay, I'm going to go to Dr. Wong. A little footnote about how as much as we keep regrouping. This task force has done an amazing job, and Dr. Sharon Ball, which everybody knows, who's part of the triumvirate with Shuli and Lee Fairclough as far as the community pandemic team, has also been integral in the vaccine rollout. And she asked primary care docs, and I'm probably going to get the number wrong, but she sort of put in a call out saying we need doctors to step up and help, and like within 48 hours, I think she had 67 people volunteering. So there's a lot of communities that are looking at us going, how are you doing this? And it really is the strength of everybody stepping up. And it's one of the reasons why when we look to the townships and the rural nature and the urban nature, that we're able to deliver in a meaningful way, because we already delivered those flu vaccines, and those people are stepping up. It's pretty amazing. Dr. Wong, do you want to bring a COVID update, and then we'll go to Councillor Jowett?
Yes, I'd like to ask Kathy Prosh to show my slides. Okay, so if we go to the first slide, which is the, or the rather that one, thank you, yes. So this is our epi curve, which you've seen before. And so in the last few days, our number of new daily cases has started to trend in the right direction. We currently, as of yesterday evening, have a rate of 142 cases per 100,000 population per week, which is down from our peak of 185 cases per 100,000 population per week, which was last Friday. Our weekly incidence rate is also similar to that of the province, which has also experienced a reduction in numbers in the last few days, and is actually also at 142 cases per 100,000 per week. So we are starting to trend in the right direction. If we go to the next slide now, I'll just point out these are a couple of screenshots that I took from our dashboard. The first one on top is just the first thing you see when you go onto the landing page, which is a quick overview of some of the key numbers and how they've changed in the last 24 hours. So this is our little quick snapshot for today. We've registered 74 new cases. That's actually quite low compared to our recent average. But you can also see things like we're up to 57 hospitalizations. We're down to 41 outbreaks. And then if you look at the bottom, we enhanced our dashboard today, actually, with just more visuals and easier to see information with respect to the different types of outbreaks that are out there in different settings. And, for example, so this one shows you at a glance the number of outbreaks in the various settings. So you don't have to go through the tables and count them. It's right there at the top of the page. So you can still see, so you can see we are still dealing with our highest numbers to date of outbreaks in various settings and hospitalizations as well, 57 today. These are indicators that can lag after case rates rise. So it is hoped that the number of outbreaks will start to slow down as numbers continue to trend in the right direction. but the number of people requiring hospitalization and ICU care, as well as deaths, unfortunately, because they're lagging indicators, they can continue to climb in the next few weeks. So if we go to the next slide, last update, I provided an update about workplace outbreaks and how, you know, they have become quite frequent, our second most frequent type of outbreak after the long-term care and retirement home outbreaks. And this is the case across the province. And so as a result of the prominence of workplace outbreaks in the second wave, the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development has started a new campaign, what they call Stay Safe All Day campaign. So this is based on findings from COVID-19 related workplace inspections, which show the vast majority of employers and employees are following COVID-19 safety requirements when working. However, when in a break room or a lunchroom, a vehicle, or not on the clock, so to speak, there is a tendency to forget about the importance of wearing masks, maintaining physical distancing, and hand hygiene. And so those trends that they've observed are the same that we've observed locally. And as part of the campaign, the Ministry of Labor inspectors will focus on specific workplaces where Ontario has experienced more outbreaks, such as manufacturing, warehouses, distribution centers, food processing operations, construction projects, and workplaces deemed essential, such as grocery stores. And we're also seeing trends that those are the more frequent places where we see outbreaks as well. So it's a good thing that they'll be doing more inspections in these areas. We benefited from additional support from the Ministry of Labor late last year to do a workplace blitz, and we welcome more support from them, of course, as part of their planned new campaign. And locally, we continue to work closely with our enforcement partners, including bylaw, regional, as well as municipal, and Waterloo Region Police Services. And we will coordinate with our provincial partners when additional enforcement support, like the new workplace campaign, is planned for Waterloo Region. We've already reached out to them and expressed our interest in working together and getting the support as soon as they're able to. So, and they have acknowledged that they are working to try to provide us that support as soon as they can. Another piece of update that I wanted to give, and I know there was a council resolution about this very recently. So the province has announced that it will provide up to 300,000 COVID-19 tests across Ontario, rapid tests, that is, per week to support key sectors such as manufacturing, warehousing, supply chain, food processing. So the areas that we've identified as having higher risk. And this volume of rapid tests, they believe, will be able to support screening of workers in such settings, up to 150,000 workers across Ontario per week, that is, over the next 4 to 5 months. And we are very anxious to have more details about that from the province. But when they come, we will obviously be working, closely with them and in collaboration with our workplaces to ensure that these are rolled out here as soon as they can be. So I just wanted to provide some information about workplace additional measures that are being planned. If I go down to the next slide. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of freeze. Won't be long. Okay, there you go. So this is regarding schools and childcare centers. So the province has also indicated that new health and safety measures will be put in place for in-person learning when it is allowed to resume. And that's including masking for grade 1 and 3, which we already, by the way, in the region with our 2 largest boards, and requirements for mask wearing outdoors, enhanced screening protocols, and expanded targeted testing. I'm not quite sure what that means yet, but it means there's going to be more testing at least. And the government has indicated that it will also implement new health and safety measures in childcare settings, such as the enhanced screening to align with the school requirements, as well as voluntary participation in this new targeted testing. And childcare centers, for non-school age children will remain open, and during the extended period of online learning in areas where in-person elementary learning is suspended. Emergency childcare will continue to be available for eligible families. And late today, via Twitter, we learned that Waterloo Region schools will continue online learning until further notice. So that's late breaking news. But that's the latest with respect to schools and childcare centers. And then I have one last slide, which is in my usual slide in closing. The emergency declaration and stay-at-home order, they are aimed at limiting people's mobility and reducing the number of daily contacts that we have with those outside our immediate household. The province presented data last week that showed that mobility and contacts between people did not decrease with the restrictions that were put in place prior to the provincial shutdown that started December 26th, and that in fact people's mobility increased, in particular in retail environments just before the holidays. So, it is hoped that the continual shutdown and new stay-at-home order will be successful in driving rates down. And we are starting to see some indications across the province, including here, that it's starting to have an effect. The province also presented data that showed before the most recent emergency declaration and stay-at-home order, almost 2/3 of Ontarians reported themselves that they follow public health recommendations such as physical distancing and not gathering with people outside of their households, while 1/3 of Ontarians reported that they did not, that they do not follow recommendations, or did not rather. So what that means is, in addition to the shutdown measures, we each have a role to play. COVID-19 is still widespread in our community. We still have rates that we've never had until the recent weeks. If we do not give the virus the ability to easily transmit from one person to another by staying apart, we will necessarily slow down the spread of COVID-19 in our community. So it looks like we're heading in the right direction. We need to continue to do that, and we need everyone to do everything they can to reduce their mobility and their contacts where they can. So through those actions, we can make the most of the provincial shutdown. So that was my update for this evening. I'd be happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wong. Councillor Jowett, you had a question or a comment? You're still on mute, Helen. I know you're trying.
No, I wasn't. I couldn't hear you guys for a second there. That was kind of odd. Okay, I've already, Dr. Wong, had a big question with regard to the interpretation of the provincial announcement today, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm sort of looking for the succinct clarity because I don't want to give out advice for sure, but did you interpret the extension of the state of emergency to and the extension of the current lockdown restrictions and stay-at-home orders? Like, I heard about intent, and I understand that. What's he trying to tell us here? So are we? There are people who are debating. Not sure if it's stay-at-home orders will get lifted tomorrow, which I doubt. But if they're also extended to February 15th as well. So it's a bit complicated because he's kind of got two things on the go there, I think.
Dr. Wong? You're on mute, Dr. Wong.
All right. I have to admit, Councillor Jowett, I've been in meetings one after the other until this board meeting. So besides someone having flipped me a Twitter to let me know that schools will continue to remain online, I haven't been able to review carefully what has been announced by the government. So I wouldn't be able to answer anything that just came out today, unfortunately, but I can get back to you on that. Or if someone maybe from bylaw might have the answer, or from legal, depending on what exactly you are wondering about.
Well, even if you kind of catch up on it tomorrow and send it out to I think we've all had the same problem. We've kind of been in Zoom meetings, so I missed the announcement too, which made me reluctant to have a response. So maybe once you get at it, maybe you can send us a quick interpretation.
Yeah, sorry. Could you just let me know, like, which announcement are you speaking about?
I don't know. I'm just getting a text asking me because he came out and announced today, and I understand that part of it was that online was going to continue. But I think it's the difference between the state of emergency and the extension of the current lockdown restrictions and then the stay-at-home orders. Like, what's the nuance there?
Okay, I'm actually, if bylaw wouldn't mind, or legal, I'm actually maybe going to ask them if they could maybe provide that information to council, just because I'm not necessarily the expert when it comes to interpreting the regulations.
Right.
Ms. Arnold, would you like to jump in?
Thanks, Chair Redman. So I can just maybe comment on the state of emergency, the second state of emergency that was declared by the province last week. That was under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, so different from the Reopening Ontario Act. And under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, they issued this stay-at-home order under that act. They did make amendments to the regulation under the Reopening Ontario Act to implement the restrictions that underpin that stay-at-home order. So we see two pieces of legislation in play. We know that the emergency declaration can be renewed in 14-day increments. So we watch, in 14-day increments. So I'm not, Councillor Jowett, aware of anything today related to that emergency order, but as Dr. Wong has said, these things evolve so quickly, and what happens, we're finding, and we totally understand the difficulty the province is having with this pandemic, is that they make announcements, and then the amendments to the regulation or the orders, they lag behind. You often see they come out like overnight sometimes. So we would certainly keep an eye on anything that is published by the province, and then report to council by email if necessary.
And that can happen maybe tomorrow, Ms. Arnold, that we can maybe get an update on which piece of legislation is at play and what the nuance is, so that we can clarify if we have questions?
Yes, absolutely. We will keep an eye on provincial documents that they're constantly turning out, yes.
Councillor Jowett, any further questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Vrbanovich,
No,
I saw your hand up and then it went down. Do you have a question or a comment?
Sorry, thanks, Chair Redman. I was just trying to help with that last answer, and I think Ms. Arnold covered it all. The only piece, I guess, is that after 2 consecutive 14-day orders, the Premier would have to go back to the legislature to actually get a further extension, which, you know, is obviously changes the dynamic somewhat then.
Thank you for that piece of information. Councillor Foxton.
Thank you. I was able, between our 2 meetings, watch the news, and the only announcement today was certain areas were able to go back to school in January 25th. The rest are extended to on-school learning until I believe it's February 11th, although the date wasn't stated. So it's basically mid-February to end of February is on-school learning for Waterloo region. That was the only announcement today. And they listed the places that could come out of virtual learning. Weren't one of them.
Thank you. Yes, you're correct. It's like negative option billing, sort of. Douglas Bartholomew Saunders, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I actually received a letter from the Ministry of Education that explains which communities are returning to schools and which communities are required to remain in online learning. In addition to remaining in online learning, it also means that before and after school programs continue to be closed, as I think Councillor Clark mentioned an hour or more ago, which also means that emergency childcare continues to be operational. And I believe it's the beginning of the 2nd week of February, but we'll know more when we get further clarification. But I can pass that, if Council wishes, I can send a copy of that letter to Council. It's fairly long and detailed. I'm not sure you want to read the whole thing. It's detailed. It's details that staff need to operate the system, but I'm happy to share it with you if you want to see it.
I would be a real supporter of an executive summary. if you could provide the highlights.
I'll ask children's staff to send you to send Council a brief summary.
Thank you. It can be in pen, pencil, or crayon. That doesn't matter. It's just looking for the sort of the high points.
I expect that in children's services, they'd enjoy the opportunity to use crayons.
Thank you. I see no other questions. Any other speakers? I really want to give a heartfelt thank you to Dr. Wong and her team, as well as Deputy Hilton for doing this really hard slogging all day, every day. Thank you for the update, and thank you for what you do to make sure that our community stays safe. I would now entertain a motion to approve the bylaws as listed, first, second, and third readings. This is moved by Councillor Harris and seconded by Councillor Schatz. I would ask you use your voting icons for yes or no. And these bylaws are to establish fees and charges of the regional municipality of Waterloo and repeal a bylaw as amended, confirm the council of the regular meeting held January 20th, 2021.
That's carried.
Very much, Stevie. That is carried. I am now going to entertain a motion to adjourn, but this is a cautionary motion to adjourn because we are going to go right into a special council meeting. So please, none of you disappear like little pixies. This motion to adjourn is moved by Councillor Nowak and seconded by Councillor Kiefer, that the meeting now be adjourned. And again, I will ask you to use your icons, but stay where you are and we will move into our special council meeting.
That's carried.
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everyone to our electronic special council meeting on January the 20th, 2021. Due to the COVID pandemic, we are practicing physical distancing and participating electronically. Again, in an effort to speed things up, we'll have assigned a mover and a seconder, and I will read these out. The purpose of this special meeting is to pass a procedural bylaw amendment. I would ask Mrs. Fletcher to do the roll call.
I think we can dispense with the roll call as I see everybody present and their cameras on now with Sean Strickland just turning his on. So thank you.
Okay, so we won't have to do the roll call. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none, we'll now start a vote to approve the bylaws as listed. This is an enactment of the bylaws first, second, and third readings. This is moved by Councillor Kiefer and seconded by Councillor Armstrong. That a bylaw to amend bylaw 00-031 is amended, being the region's bylaw governing procedure of council and committees. Would you please use your icons to vote?
Carried.
Thank you very much. That is carried. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. This is moved by Councillor Clark and seconded by Councillor Erb. That this meeting now adjourn. I would ask you please to use your icons to vote yes and no.
Congratulations, that's carried.
Thank you, colleagues, for a thoughtful discussion, a lot of great work, and a budget, I think, that's going to help chart our way forward. So thank you all very much. Take the rest of the night off, guys.
Take care.
This pixie says good night.
Good night.